suck up in the heat.
John.
Well, good evening. It's Wednesday night, therefore it must be the Virginia Beach LiberTEA Podcast. We broadcast every Wednesday from 7 to 8. We will not be broadcasting 4th of July week. We hopefully will be joined by Lorraine Saboko on that following Wednesday to talk about residential overlay districts that were broached by Councilman Ross Hammond on January 23rd about how maybe these single-family neighborhoods that get picked can be the neighborhoods where a single-family home will now become a duplex or a quadplex. So, and obviously their neighborhood was the one that was mentioned, so we wanted to get her on the show and have her speak. She's been a long-time resident of Paragon. But this podcast is sponsored by the Tidewater Liberty Partners and the Virginia Beach Tea Party, and I'm their host, John Moss. And our producer tonight, as always, is Robert K. Dean. I wouldn't say illustrious, but I don't want to give him too much credit. But for announcements, we have at the Masonic Lodge, Gary Porter. If you've never heard Gary Porter, who's a constitutional scholar, he does an outstanding job, and he's the executive director of the Constitution Leadership Initiative, and that will be at the Masonic Lodge again at 2849 Princess Anne Road from 7 to 8 p.m. on July the 8th, Thursday night, from 7 to 8 p.m., as I said, with doors open at 6:30. And for all of you who are out there traveling the highways and byways of Virginia Beach, when it comes to be campaign season, things that pop up like dandelions are illegal signs. So if you think you see an illegal sign, because all the candidates get notified by the city what the rules are, and the number to call about illegal signs, 757-385-5067. Again, that's 757-385-5067. I'm not going to repeat all the details, but I do want to remind people that August 10th of this year is the last day to file that one-page filing statement to get into the queue to get yourself considered. If you spent any time at Camp Lejeune and were drinking the water and had a number of cancers, we'll post that on the VB LiberTEA site, the details. But remember, August the 10th, 2024 is your last date to file to be considered part of that lawsuit. You have to file all the documentation. It's a single form that puts you in the queue, documentation to follow. Don't let that Congress has appropriated $15 billion. So if you were stationed at that facility, I can't remember the time frame, we'll post that, then you should have a number of cancers, then you should file that petition thing and be in the queue. So don't forget that. But I have the pleasure, as we all know, that every year is an election year in the state of Virginia, and every 2 years of that cycle is councilmatic elections. And this year we have a number of districts that are up. This will be our second round of district voting in Virginia Beach. And Cash Green is running for the vacated seat in the 7th district, so there's no incumbent on the ballot. And so he's out there wanting to represent the citizens of the 7th district. I'm going to let Cash Green tell you a little bit about what the boundaries of that district are, so you know if you follow that or not. But no matter where he is, the views he expressed tonight represents how he'll vote, and that will affect everybody, right there, Cash?
That is right.
So the mic's over to you, Cash, to tell your story and who you're going to be representing on City Council.
That's right. My name is Cash Green. I'm representing the open seat for District 7. I'm excited about it. I've been about this journey and investigative process for about 2 years. And so when you think of Tallwood High and you think of Salem High, if you live in those surrounding areas, that's an easy way for you to understand that you live in District 7. We have also 10 communities that make up District 7, but I try to make it easy for everyone because when I use the word District 7, they go, what's that? And so I would say Centerville, they go, oh yes! Or, I'll say Applebee's, and they'll say, yes, I understand. So with that being said, it is 46,000 people that live in my district. We are a working class district, so we are excited that I get to represent the working class as well as the retired military community is there. We've got a large portion of military community there, as well as teachers and individuals like myself. We are white collar workers, and so you'll see a lot of office and management positions that are held by the residents of District 7. I also use the wording Regent University.
That's the biggest employer, I would expect.
Yes, I think over maybe 10,000, don't quote me on that, but about 10,000 employees are employed at Regent University. I'm excited because they have a law program as well. And I attended Regent University, but as you know, I'm a part of the working class, so I couldn't sell cars and do my studies at the same time. So I had to make a executive decision to take care of my family, which sometimes as the working class, you've got to do that. I am going to continue my studies, but I'm all about making sure that my family needs are met. And that's what makes up District 7. We are working class, hardworking. We have about 46% is my makeup when it comes to race is going to be white, 30% is going to be black, and then you have about 20% is going to be the Asian population, and then 4% makeup Indian / Hispanic community in District 7. So we are a melting pot. We are a diverse district, and I am going to say this: we are somewhat the forgotten district, right? What are we building in District 7? What are we doing? We have Stumpy Lake, right? When you think of a nice tourist attraction and golf course is Stumpy Lake. We've got Honeybee Golf Course, which I'm a fan of because I live by there. I don't necessarily golf, but because I'm always working.
I understand that.
But we have a large makeup where we're homeowners, that's half of my district, and the rest are apartment living and living paycheck to paycheck. So I really got two sides of my district. I've got one that they are homeowners, and the other side of my district, on the other side of Regent University, once you cross over the bridge, they are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're trying to make ends meet, and they're having to take care of and make ends meet for daycare. That's been a struggle for the other half of my district. And then when it comes to the district where, or the side that I live on, they are concerned about taxes, right? Real estate taxes, personal property taxes. And as you know, I know about personal property taxes because I sell automobiles. And so that's been a thing that we need to, this is what caused me to want to be in running for city council, because they trust me with their second largest purchase, that is the automobile. And from there, I negotiate on their behalf. That's what I constantly do, making sure that they get a fair deal. So I want to take that same type of drive and tenacity to make sure that they are going to get a fair deal. And right now, the numbers may look right on city council, sound right, but the people are not feeling that. They're not feeling that they're right. And so
That's because they're not. What do you say? Isn't the customer always right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, the customer's telling them they got the wrong answer.
That's right. Everything is going up, John. Everything is going up.
Yep. I think what I'd be curious is you're right, and I just brought something here I was going to ask you about, because here you probably got one of these little messages, right,
Yes.
in your water bill, your community services bill,
Yes.
and transparency. But what they don't ever put in here, they don't tell you how much it went up or the percentage increase. So
Right.
while it's transparency, you have to get out your calculator to know how transparent is it. So they didn't tell you that your water service availability, which is reading your meter,
Right.
went up 10.6%. That's a lot more than inflation,
That's right.
even on a good day. Your usage for your water, which is contractual, went up 10.4%.
Mm-hmm.
Your sanitary fee went up 13.9%.
Right.
And your salt, because of recycling, went up 11.1%.
Right.
So I think what people, when they see this, now you add up all that, that's $51.96. And then if you say, oh, but you get taxed on that money you pay. That's not deductible, none of that's deductible, right? The average person doesn't pay more than 15% tax rate.
Right.
They pay 6% to the state roughly. So that means your real payment was $63.40. Doesn't sound like much, does it?
Over time.
Well, the key thing is, it doesn't sound like much, so I think people would be looking to you and asking you, how come the city couldn't reduce costs elsewhere? They realize they're gonna charge for this, cause it's a fee, but why couldn't they reduce something else somewhere else? Maybe they didn't do a $300,000 study maybe.
Right.
So I think, so what would you tell folks out there that, when you're on there, cause obviously you're one vote,
Right, right.
and they just increased real estate taxes for the third year in a row. So, how do you plan to voice those concerns
Right.
on the council, cause budget season's coming up now? Did you speak at the last budget hearings of last May? Did you speak at any of those
I didn't.
hearings?
I was able to watch it in Zoom, so I was able to check in. But there is an answer. I think that we can present to council. The budget is supposed to be balanced. When you talk about the water bill and when you talk about the interest, I think what we need to do is, instead of having these studies that we're wasting money on, I think we need to reduce it. Everything needs to be in reduction. So, if City Council is in favor of raising, the rates for the water bill, I would be interested in reducing studies. We need to negotiate, right? If you wanna raise, then we have to reduce.
Well, I agree. I think what I was trying to share is, a lot of these things we are at these fees, other than labor costs, which you do have a vote on, and they don't say which part of this is labor, which part of it's electricity, because all these pumping stations use a lot of power, right? So a lot of this stuff is like your house. It's a fixed cost. You have to pay it,
Right.
right? So when you have to pay your fixed cost and your salary didn't go up 10%, you look for other places. So
Right.
I think what the challenge is talking with people is, what else is in the non-fee? Because remember, your
Right.
taxes aren't paying for any
Right.
of this. None of this is being paid by a tax.
Mhm.
This is all you're paying every month. You're paying a tax
Right.
for $26 million road for Amazon. You're paying a tax for $153 million of borrowed money for Atlantic Park. You're paying a tax for that tax refund you just watched the other night that was reformed as a grant to
Right.
circumvent the law. All these are the things I think that people see, and I'm wondering, so when you say you have a thought process,
Right.
do you have in mind, because there's a lot of taxes, people hate the personal property tax, right,
Sure.
the car tax, even the governor hates that, right?
Sure.
But you also gotta say, either you gotta reduce, I hear you saying this, you would be reducing the cost of
That's-
government, rather than saying, oh, I won't tax your car, I'll just tax something else.
Right. Right.
Okay.
You know, and since you're here, I've always wanted to ask you this question, and I think it's good for the public to hear this. When it comes to District 7, we sometimes are away from the ocean front, right? We really don't. And during the season of summer, we should be down at the beach, enjoying the beach, but we're not. We leave that for our tourists. And so there is this fee that, or this acronym called the TIP Fund.
Tourist Investment Program, I think it stands for.
I would like, and call me the guy that just, I see some money being set aside for it, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, however we do it. Why can't we use some of that money to reduce some of the taxes like the water bill or the taxes that are over and above?
Well, I
the
can't
normal?
answer that question. These being, for people out there, are revenue, or these are enterprise accounts.
Right.
And we issue revenue bonds.
Right.
And our bond agencies look at these particular types of funds needing to be self-sustaining. When you start subsidizing these costs from the general fund, that sends a signal, not the right signal, to your credit agencies. Now,
Right.
if these things are carrying excess of balances, meaning
Okay.
excess of reserve accounts, that would be appropriate then to change your rate structure. But
Right.
generally speaking, giving maintenance, I think we've seen what happens in communities that don't account for depreciation expense and these kind of basic utilities. And so if you want to make sure your water works, your sewer, these kind of things get done, those are things you can't do. Now, with regards to looking at the revenues that flow into the tip fund,
Right.
for example, 100% of the amusement tax goes to the tip fund.
Right.
Really? maybe we should look at, can some of those revenue flows going in or can be reduced and then that revenue offset? Or you could say, hey, we don't want to have as those revenues grow, rather than letting those revenues grow to spend, you use the revenue growth and say, now I want to keep my expenses constant, then you can lower that rate. Meal tax,
Right.
which is principally paid by residents. It's not principally paid,
Private.
and we have what? What's our real estate? What's our meal tax?
What is it, 6%?
It's close. That's Norfolk.
Yeah.
I forgot right on that. It's 11.5. It's 5.5%. It's the third highest in the country. It's punishing. And I think it costs us business as well. So, how can we? So I think. What did they say? What did someone say? I don't want to mention names, but no tax on tips.
Yeah.
How about
I
why
agree.
can't we grow to a dime meal tax?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think that's what people. Because I think, what are you hearing going door to door? I want to hear from you. What do you hear going door to door when you're knocking on doors from your constituents?
When it's half of my, because I would liken District 7 where I have two sides, right?
Well, you can talk about both sides.
Yeah. So the one side I hear is you've got the water bill, right? You've got the water bill that is dealing with your water. Then you've got the sanitary.
It's $100 to $125 a month.
And then they're separate. I'm talking about the HR.
Oh, HRSP, that is a separate bill. That's
Yes.
correct.
Why are they not combined like Norfolk? Norfolk has their water bill and their sewer and sanitation bill together.
HRSDs billed through their bill.
Yes, as one single bill.
Oh, interesting. I did not realize that HRSD Norfolk pays. I'll have to check on that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right, but
Yeah.
it could be right. It just doesn't sound right. But HRSD, we pump it, to the trunk lines,
Yeah.
and then they take it from the trunk lines to the processing facility. If you were in the great tour to go on,
I've signed up.
and then they
Signed up.
pump it 3 miles. Well,
Yeah.
one pumps it 3 miles out into the ocean, and you got that little thing where he turns it and puts it in a glass of water, and he drinks it before the water that goes out to the ocean. But but that is what that gets charged, and that bill has substantially increased over the years.
It has to the point where we've got two. That's a problem. The problem is that we needed.
One bill.
One bill.
Might be some savings there. Might be some
Yeah.
savings there. Might be some savings there. I didn't realize that I have to follow up on that. I didn't realize that
HRSD.
and the Norfolk send just one bill.
That's correct.
Interesting.
The next one that I hear from the homeowners is drudging. So we have projects that I guess we've set up through referendums or we set up as a part of flood mitigation where they should be maintenance every, 6 months?
No, that would be no.
Or is it, well, one
much
resident.
longer than that.
Well, one resident said she's seen someone dredge, maybe
A
4
lake?
years. A lake.
Well,
4 years.
generally speaking, and I won't speak for Teresa, the dredging of lakes was a much longer periodicity than that. I know we have a big backlog, but I know it's a much longer periodicity than that we do dredging on lakes. I think it's in the 25, 24, something like that. It's a much longer period.
Okay.
Because when they dredge, and we are behind,
Yes.
but once again, it's when you let things go, and I think if you look back in the past, these bills didn't come forward because they didn't want this kind of bill to compete with other special interest projects. That's my belief. A good example of that was when Princeton Plaza, when no one ever told us that I didn't remember that there was only like 6 inches of water capacity in the ditch. But I do know we're on a long-term project, and they have to mechanically dredge those kind of things. That's not hydraulic dredging. They dredge that material out.
Right.
They usually dredge it to, usually 5 feet, and then they'll go to one spot and dredge to 6, so there's a deeper spot. That's not universally, and we don't own all the dredge. Some of them are owned by HOAs, and that's a ticking time bomb for those folks. But yes, but the periodicity is much longer. But we are way behind on getting that done. It's a question of when you're that far behind, you can't afford to pay the lump sum cost, and plus the workforce that does that work
Right.
isn't there to do it.
That's
So
what
you
they
got
said.
to pace it with the availability, because if you try to do it higher than the capacity, what happens? The price that you pay goes up. And so you really got to pace between what you can afford and the industrial capacity of people who do the work.
There is a simple fix, and there are residents that I'm going door to door. We have these drains, right? And they ask for drain guards to keep debris and trash from going into the drains. A simple solution, but they said that they called the city and were told we can't do that because then the trash will be on the streets and who's going to pick it up? Why haven't we ever implemented a small flood mitigation prevention, a guard?
Well, I don't know who gave the answer, and I don't want to answer for the city. I'm not that person. So I think you need to pass that on to the current council member and the current city manager, because they own that problem.
Yeah.
But everything always comes at a cost, and always, and obviously, I don't know, there's oil separators you can do, but those cost too, because that's like a diaper type of fabric, and you got to change those things out frequently.
Right.
And then when someone gets the price, they go, "Oh my gosh, that might be a problem, but I'm not willing to pay an extra $10 a month to solve it." So that's what we got to figure out, is how do you better educate the people to not do those things.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes those trash and big storms can block the thing, and then the no water's going down, and the street and the houses
It's
flood.
flooded.
And then you ask the
Right.
people, "Oh, do you really like those?" It's not an easy solution, or we would have solved it. But I think we ought to look for solutions, and we always can do pilots to see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
I haven't seen. I live near water, across the street from it. I haven't experienced a lot of trash, but maybe on major highways, a lot of cigarette butts I see. But I don't see a lot of trash accumulating. But that could be a unique area and a unique problem.
Right.
But hey, we ought to be able to look for innovative solutions. We're not the first community that has had that problem.
That's correct. Next door is also my digital community, and so you'll see pictures and you'll see residents posting stuff that they've found or cleaned out to keep the drains flowing.
Well, that's good. Sometimes, when you just mentioned self-help, I sweep my gutter. People should never forget that sometimes solving the problem yourself at the community level is a lot less expensive and rewarding volunteering than to ask the city to solve it. It'll cost 3 times as much as you thought, be half as good as you had hoped, and take twice as long. So sometimes, if you see stuff picking up, I'm sure about walking your dog, I pick up other trash, I pick up. So sometimes, just a little bit of effort on ourselves, is the self-help is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Now on the other side, which is College Park, there are small businesses there, and I had the opportunity with one of my assistants, and we just volunteer. Everything I do is, from the heart. I don't want to, and that's another thing about campaigning, is you don't want to, if this is your first time running for office, I'm not sure why they wanted me to pay volunteers at the beginning. I think that's a disservice to the whole reasoning for running for office.
I've never paid anyone.
Right. I'm running for office because of it's my heart. I'm in representing the people because of my heart, not because of what I can pay someone or make money from, or I'm trying to give back to the people. So anyway, so the person that went with me, she's volunteering her time, and we were concerned about the small businesses. So we went in and we spoke with a lot of, one in particular is called Lovely Cakes, and she doesn't mind me mentioning this. And she said, what is the city going to do for me? And which we are investigating. What is the city going to do for me when I don't have a lot of traffic coming in to purchase cakes. She said, we have experienced, sometimes we have on Saturdays and maybe Sundays, our sales are good, and then Monday through Friday, they are spot hit and miss. I said, well, one thing that I can do is promote you, put out the word, and tell people to buy from you. Right? I said, we can do that as a city, as a district. We can pull together and begin to promote you. Right?
My question would be, because there's a lot of people like myself that ask, is in a free enterprise system, which we are celebrating on July the 4th.
Yes.
We are founded as capitalism. You know, we don't promote people riding on airplanes. We don't promote people to go to movie theaters. We don't promote people to shop at Home Depot. So, how do we justify, because that's a complaint I hear about the ocean, how do we justify taking taxpayers' money to promote a business?
Right.
A business should be promoting their own business. And so when you say, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, that's we're already doing too much of that already in Virginia Beach, and some people would argue, Dr. Cook would, that the more government gets involved, the lower the overall economic growth rate is, because people feel like, I can't come, and you've heard people say this, I know, I can't afford to do business because I can't compete against the people who get city subsidies. So I'm just curious, when you say help, what are you talking about? Just your personal advocating as a council member, or are you advocating that there should be actually my tax dollar, your constituents' tax dollars spent to advertise cakes over Midas Muffler over the Exxon gas station? Because that's what I kind of heard you saying.
So the word promoting just means from being an advocate, not using money or tax dollars money. As a city council member, soon to be, and fingers crossed, everything I do is about volunteers or doing it from the stance of where you help someone who's not very good at maybe promotion, maybe they need to be taught, maybe they need some resources given to them, because we still want their business to strive.
You know, we have a center that does that.
The Hive.
Yes.
Well,
even people question that.
Well, and that's where and this is where I'm coming in at.
Yep.
So if the Hive is there, which I don't know all that the services that the Hive are doing, I do hear some good things about the Hive, but I can just tell you from my experience that they need some help when it comes to promotion. And when I say promotion, I'm not saying use tax dollars resources. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that if you can be an advocate for a struggling business, I want to keep that business going. And I want to keep it promoting to keeping that community a healthy environment, because she's plugged into that community.
Yep. Well, it's when these small businesses that you talk to, do they talk about what is it in terms of all the taxes and fees that are levied on a business, independent of its profitability, that are a barrier to having the dollars to promote themselves? I'm kind of interested in, because that's all businesses now. That's not just. I'm just curious as to what their experiences are in terms of, the B-Pole tax, the personal property tax, the business property tax. They tax on each cake pan, each trash can, each cooler.
Right. Right. From her perspective, and she was speaking to me, she said, we really need to do something to help. And this was her words. And I don't think she was asking for a handout where we need to provide money to give her business the lift that she needs. I would think she was saying, and this is what I took from it, and I'm going to have a second follow-up with her, is that we need to either streamline where businesses can breathe to be more profitable instead of paying more in taxes.
We all would like more breathing space. I'm with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you probably know 43% of all small businesses are behind on their rents nationwide. It's a nationwide average. And the profitability and their margins have rapidly shrunk.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a common theme. And guess what hasn't shrunk?
The cost of living?
No.
The
City
taxes?
City spending has not shrunk. I did mention that.
Yeah. No.
And Madison had the third highest meal tax.
Yeah, but you said 5.5, but it's total 11.5%.
Right, but
Oh,
5.5
okay.
is the meal tax,
Yeah.
6 is the sales tax. We can't make the
Meal
sales
tax is what I'm talking about.
Right, the meal tax is 5.5 cents.
It's 11.5%.
It's total tax.
On meal
Sales
tax.
tax is 6 cents.
Okay.
If you look at your bill, it says sales tax 6 cents, meal tax 5.5. It is itemized on your bill.
Okay.
So for a total of 11.5%.
I think District 7 is at a wonderful advantage. If I can get the message out that District 7 has talent, I want more small businesses. I do. I want everyone in District 7 to feel like they can work if they're able to. I want to keep District 7 as known as the working class, which means that if someone in my district is experiencing job loss or they're experiencing where they're on hard times, I want to provide resources that there can't be any lag or shouldn't be a lag, because they now know that District 7 is a place that provides resources where everyone can be working, right? Where we can be self-sufficient.
Well, your district really makes up with Chesapeake and Norfolk,
Yeah.
more so than, we don't think we have many other districts that interface with two cities.
Indian River Road.
Yeah, well, it's Indian River Road before the old Ford plant
Military.
was at the end of Indian River Road further into Norfolk. But a lot of people work in Chesapeake and live in the beach, and a lot of people live in Chesapeake and work in Virginia Beach.
Right.
So that's a big interface there. So cooperation with Chesapeake's planning and roads is really critical for your district to match up and to phase in, I would think.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm not up to speed on what all. Norfolk doesn't seem to have a lot going on in that particular area at the moment.
Right.
But you have part of your districts on the other side of the military
Military
highway.
highway,
If I remember.
yep.
It's a very short part.
Yep.
Often, like you said, the forgotten part of Virginia Beach.
It's true.
So what do you see as the biggest need of your district?
So I've had several people who have lived there for 20 plus years said to me, and I need to do a little studying on this one. And the reason why I would say this is because I'm very proud of the 4th Precinct, right, which is a wonderful police department. We've got wonderful officers
So
who,
you just expanded that not too long ago.
right. However, we've had 2 murders in District 7, right, and that is concerning. We may be looking at, and me as in support of, a subdivision in District 7. Now, that's important to me because, one, we don't have and you've probably heard this for years, we don't have a rec center. The former council member before that was opting and advocating for a rec center for the young people as well as the working families as well as the seniors and those that are disabled. We wanted to have a rec center. I think that transportation for some of my district is a problem. And we are starting to see crime rise in District 7. That's a little concerning to me. Even though we've got wonderful organizations we've got churches on almost every corner in District 7. And I'm grateful for that. So faith is there. But we're missing the connection. We're missing some type of connection to resources or mode of transportation for our young people. And so it's causing them in our parks, right? We've got wonderful city parks. I went and I sat and walked through a lot of the parks. I think they need to be revamped. So that's another story. So I believe we need a subdivision. And in that subdivision, I think we need.
You're really saying you want another police precinct.
Well, I try not to use the
Well,
word
you gotta use the right
precinct.
word because
Well,
people,
well,
subdivision, they think a housing development. If you just say, if you put a precinct, I think you should just honestly just say that because the public knows what that means.
because
Police precinct, that's what you say, right?
community, yes, community policing is very important. And the reason why I didn't want to say the full precinct, because I don't want the taxpayers to have to be burdened down with so much of, what it costs to man a full precinct. And we built a subdivision on the oceanfront, right?
We
We
got
have
a satellite office, yes.
That's
I don't-
what I'm more referring to.
No cars, no nothing, just a building.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay, I just wanna make sure what you
Yeah.
were, when you said subdivision, I think, I don't understand what that means.
Because at first I was under the same mindset, we need a whole new precinct. That's costly.
Well, what we really need is whatever the public safety is first and foremost responsibility of local government. What you need is whatever the requirement is that produces a measurable solution. So when someone says crime is up, first thing I go to chief and say, okay, what crime is up?
Right.
And what is the nexus between the solution you're proposing and will that really solve what the problem is? That's always the issue, because people always want to build something, but often a building isn't the solution. It's usually something about people, and you don't have to have a building nowadays to put people in deployment. We put police officers in Lake Edwards, right?
Right.
We didn't build any office there, we just had fixed patrols that stayed in there and did work. But I'm just kind of curious what you meant, but a satellite, you're saying we
Yeah.
don't have enough police officers in that area.
Right.
The patrol areas are too big, is what I'm hearing you say.
100%.
Okay.
I've taken a 13-week Citizens Police Academy course, and it was wonderful. It was eye-opening. We need more funding to hire more police. And as my district begins to expand, it's a very large district. And so the 4th precinct is also monitoring the 1st district, District 1. And so I think we need to be thinking futuristically, like I've got a vision. We can't be reactive when it comes to crime. We need to be proactive.
You know what the critical path is to hiring more police officers?
Tell me your thought,
It's not a thought, it's a fact.
Yeah.
It's the police academy.
Oh.
Is a Bird Neck is an old elementary school, and it does not have the capacity to have additional throughput. So if you want to grow the force, plus take care of the attrition, plus train the sheriffs, you can't do it in the current facility that we have.
Mm.
It is input output constrained
Right.
because of the nature of the facility.
Virginia Beach only?
What?
Is that for Virginia Beach only?
Yeah.
And think about regional.
No, well, once you look at this is I don't want to it's not my show, but
No.
you got to make sure when you have regional, like the regional jail, it didn't work out so well. Why does the Air Force and why does the Army and why does the Marine Corps have their own boot camp? They all have their own culture.
Right.
And the culture of the police force in Virginia Beach is not the culture of the police force in Norfolk, which is not the police force of the culture in Portsmouth, nor do I think we want it to be.
Right.
And also the size of our police force is huge. But today, people have to drive to North Carolina.
I know.
and
I
that's
was just going to say that.
Because our facility,
Yeah.
we don't have indoor simulation. So when he's asking about increasing police, it's great to say, but to execute that policy, you first have to upgrade the police facility itself, because you can't hire the size classes to account for attrition and retirements, which we're already still in, and the sheriff's department, which we're now training to be just like police. I
Right.
pushed that for a long time.
Right.
Interoperability.
I think
Next
that's
thing you know, you're talking close to the same size as the police force, plus you got 805. Next thing you're talking 1,600. It's a big issue, and you're talking about an elementary school that was designed to teach kids
Right.
at a cafeteria and an auditorium. So your footprint, it really isn't designed to train officers like they're supposed to serve. I won't say fight, but serve.
Right.
And so
Right.
I just mentioned that because if you are elected, that is an issue that isn't right now isn't competing for resources in the CIP,
No.
capital improvement plan for those watching.
Right. And I really appreciate you saying it. That's why I didn't want to build a new precinct, because we need to invest in officers and training new officers in academy. So I'm right on board with you when it comes to that. I don't want to be proactive when it comes to District 7. I think that, like we do in Lake James, we have the patrol officers, and they see the car, right, as a detriment to crime or reducing crime. Mental health is on the rise, and so there's a lot when it comes to District 7 that I can say that I've got a plan for. And my number one plan for District 7, where crime is rising, is work.
Well, work is the best thing.
I'm telling you, work, work, work. And I'm not saying work as in it's not thoughtful for them, because each individual has talents, and we want to grow those talents. And maybe it's being a plumber. I'm for trades, right? I'm an individual that certifications is how I've made it. And I couldn't afford to go to the university at times because I had to work and take care of my family, so I had to make a decision. Nevertheless, I am going to try to provide resources for the young people where they feel like their talent can be recognized, where they can be productive in our society. And this will be one of the measurements of reducing crime.
When you say provide resources, my first
Yeah.
question anyway
I
is,
see.
what resources from what source?
Yeah, yeah. So we've got many organizations like Men of Faith, right, that are mentoringship programs.
Mhm.
When I say resources, I mean mentoringship. Because some of the parents, when I'm knocking on the door, it's the mom and she's got 3 kids, dad is not there. To fill in the gaps, we either need the church, or we need a mentor, or we need a mentorship program like I belong to, which is the 200 plus men's organization, but that's Hampton Roads. And it encompasses Virginia Beach, but Norfolk, Portsmouth, and Chesapeake, but in Hampton. But we need programs like that. That's the resources I'm referring to.
Well,
That are
challenge that the beach
faith-based.
faces, like everybody faces at home.
Yeah.
Too many requirements at the end of affordability. You know, you got the schools that wanted an outrageous amount of money, which they had to
Yeah.
back off of. You got every department in the city, more and more and more, and everyone's 80% of families are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
So how can your leadership on council take a approach
Mhm.
where, rather than waiting till March and get the manager's recommendation,
Right.
how can the council act forward thinking and, like the governor and the president's do,
Right.
give their departments, in this case the city manager,
Right.
direction of, we don't want a tax increase, we don't want this. You gotta make and give him budgetary guidance, much like the governor does. We've never done that. But
Sure.
if you're not gonna do that, how are you gonna take your portfolio,
Sure.
right? Like
Right.
you do at home, and plan for the future while taking care of today, knowing you gotta take risk in both spots.
Right.
So what's your thinking process of how to balance that portfolio of today and all the competing people out there saying, feed me,
Sure.
and I want extra dessert. And also preparing for the future long after we're gone, and people say, those people really took care, they look forward and they took care of that problem for us.
Sure. Yeah. I think the first thing is I've got to make sure to maintain the services that are essential. That is my first priority, is making sure to keep the services that are essential up and going. After that, let me take a look at redundancies, right? I believe we've got some redundancies that we're paying for stuff that could be repurposed, right?
Could you give the viewing, listening public a couple examples of that, since obviously I can tell you've given some thought to it?
Well, when it comes to repurposing, I'm thinking of teachers, right? And I think when it comes to teachers, there are many subjects that they are proficient at. And if teachers are art teachers, and we almost wanted to lay off some art teachers, I think we need to repurpose them, keep them going, not open up another a job description for them, but have them teach where we may have a lack, right? Repurpose them. And so we can still keep the kids learning without having to wait for a new teacher to be hired. I think we need to.
Can you give me an example where city council, because you're not gonna do
No,
anything
no,
about schools.
But they're about
You'll
budget.
learn that very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I think about the buildings that we have. Some of the buildings could be multi-purpose buildings. I think about some of the employees. Let's use for example the city employees that we have. Right? I think you've got manager 1 and manager 2. They can be combined.
How about, there's been some discussion of privatizing the aquarium. I don't know if you've been able to research that topic or not. But what are your thoughts on, I realize that's not an issue for District 7 directly,
Right?
but it's one you have to vote on, and it has implications, and that kind of gets us back to this whole issue of, well, if we privatize the aquarium, how come we're not privatizing the convention center? How come we're not privatizing the sports center? How come we're not privatizing a lot of stuff?
I know.
But I don't know if you've had a chance to research that topic or not.
I'm researching it as of now. Today I received a phone call about public-private partnership and what that means for the city of Virginia Beach. Is that something that could be prosperous for us, or is that something that we need to take a second look at?
Well, just ask them to show you when we've ever reduced taxes because of the revenue from public-private partnership. I'd be interested to hear that.
Yeah. I've been told on one hand it sounds good, but it may not be the end result that we have been looking for, especially when it comes to the aquarium. And that's where I'm at right now with my study of it. It sounds good.
I hear you talk to hope you talk to the foundation people that have invested, because I think they want their money back.
Yes.
I think you probably have heard that.
Right. I have. And before coming and learning about city council, I thought being public-private partnership was just a wonderful concept until the aquarium. So,
Well, I think all these things you have, and this is just people asking you is, why is it that someone needs us to pay Atlantic Park, pay for their parking garages?
right.
Why do we have to use public debt that we could use for a rec center? But that debt amount, forget who pays for it, right? But the debt itself is your borrowing capacity. So 153 million goes to Atlantic Park.
Mm-hmm.
22 million goes here, 26 million goes here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next thing, and then they say, oh, well, then the schools need this much. Oh, then there's no debt service, there's no debt capacity, the credit card's maxed out, and there's no Centerville Rec Center.
Right.
So that's why when someone's talked, it's like, wait a minute, where you got to think about debt is our most limiting asset, our ability to borrow.
Right.
Because that is an asset. And each of these things suck that up, even though they might say, oh, but we pay for it out of our revenues. Okay. But there's still an opportunity cost of what was the thing that was that the best use of your debt?
Right.
And I don't know what the answer is, always, it's case by case, but I learned from my good friend, as Robert knows, Dr. Cook, most of these things are not to the benefit of the taxpayers, because subsidized interest rates, subsidized borrowing leads to, as you know, bad decisions generally. So, but those are all points to look at that. That's a difficult decision to make about the aquarium.
Right.
And you could read, and that's true, there is a big auditor's report that was done on some of these things, and let me put it this way, I've often said Warren Buffett wouldn't have invested in any of those things. The return on investment, like I said, when did we ever lower taxes because of all the revenue that we've gained from public-private partnerships? And the other thing is, you've probably seen this, your district is highly residential.
It is.
Highly. Well, in 1986, 86% of our tax base was residential. In 2024, 86% is residential. So despite 30-something years of picking the winners and losers and investing in public-private partnerships, we haven't moved the needle one iota.
Right. Right.
Maybe we should try a different model. So I'm glad to hear you talking about fresh ideas, fresh looks. I do think some of our communities further from the center of the city that are on the fringes of Norfolk and Portsmouth have been often overlooked on investment. But I will say that College Park Elementary School,
Absolutely.
is an architectural
Yeah,
dream.
I agree.
I know about security, all that
Yeah.
glass in terms of force protection,
Right,
but as an architectural gem
right.
in that neighborhood.
We were able to, on Super Tuesday, which just passed on the 18th, we recognized that there was a teacher of the year that happened to be coming out of her classroom, and we stopped and we gave her praise and took some pictures and made her feel very valuable, and that was at College Park Elementary. So with that, we talked about safety, we talked about having the, I don't want to say the building, but not a precinct, but a
Precinct could be the right answer. I think you always should be open. What's the requirement that solves the problem? That's the requirement you should work for. Even if you have to phase getting there, it should be the objective that you get to at some point.
well, and I would say for a cost perspective, I would rather see more vehicles than the building.
Oh, true.
Yeah, and I think we need more visibility in District 7 in areas that are having a tick in crime. They see the lights, it can reduce, and so that's my goal. That's where I would start. That my first order of business is to see where the police is at, and in terms of manpower, in terms of equipment, in terms of vehicle maintenance, and whether they have enough vehicles. I want to provide Chief Newdigate all the resources that City Council can do that's within their power to do. Because I think in order for us to be the cutting edge when it comes to the world's best vacation spot, and I believe it is, it's got to be the world's best safest spot.
Well, I think that's probably a good way to be summing up the program. So I guess we're down to the last 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'll let you take a minute for your minute elevator speech
Yeah.
and saying to the whole 7th District, you should be voting for Cash Green because.
Everyone knows that I am a hard worker. I am the type of individual that when you give me a problem, I will get to the bottom of it. I mean, I've always been that way. I'm driven. Right? I'm driven for one purpose. That's to see the quality of our lives to be improved. If there is a issue that you are having, paying bills paycheck to paycheck, then I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that you're given the American dream. I am for families. My wife and I, we make it a point to hone in on this is about families. This is not about me. This is about the quality of Virginia Beach and the residents here. We want Virginia Beach to be a home. We want Virginia Beach to be a place where your grandkids could come back and visit, and you can invite friends and to come in and have this be a tourist spot. But most importantly, I care about you.
All righty. Well, Cash Green, thank you for sharing part of your evening with us. I know the people of the 7th District, as well as the city at large, are glad to hear your thoughts and views. I know you'll be out there on the campaign trail. And remember, next Wednesday is just the day before 4th of July, so please do celebrate. America is an exceptional country. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. It's the only nation on the face of this earth that believes that our liberties come from our Creator, not from government. We did not form government to govern us. We inform government to protect our liberty and our property. And that's only possible when we get to keep the maximum amount of what we earn so that we can pursue our individual happiness. The bigger the government is, the less freedom that we have. So let's celebrate limited government, free enterprise, personal liberty, and faith. Signing off, again, it's Cash
Contact.
Green, Virginia Beach City Council.
Make sure you guys go and visit my website, www.cash, spelled out, F-O-R, Virginia Beach, spelled out, .com. Cash for VirginiaBeach.com. I'm also having, on July 3rd, come out and meet me at Applebee's off of Kempsville